Hello viewers, today I will teach you about the story of invention. First story is about invention, and this is about the transportation. Transportation means moving one place to another, some person or something. It means that we have to transport something or someone from one place to another. This story is about the invention of transportation device. For example, first of all, you can see here a balloon, a flying balloon. This is also called the hot balloon, which is used to transfer human beings or travel the people through it from one place to another. The second thing is also the same thing, like it, a car which is used for transport for the human beings. And third thing is glider. Glider means a device without engine which is used for flying for the human beings from one place to another place. This is also called a device of transportation, but it is without engine. And this is also the same thing, just like a skating board for moving from one place to another. So these all are the ways for the transportation. Now let's start the topic about air. This is topic about the air, that the human beings wanted to travel through air, and at the past time they don't know how to fly because the device was not invented at that time. So the story starts from here. About air, how it has weight and can be compressed. It means air has a weight, but it can be compressed, just like in a cylinder we fill the air or oxygen something, and that can be compressed and filled with the cylinder. Airplanes make use of this in order to fly, but before airplanes with engines were invented, men learned to fly in gliders. Airplanes without engines during the last quarter of the 19th century, people tried a different kind of flying. They fast and themselves to like frameworks which were rather like kites and allowed themselves to be lifted in the air by the wind. This kind of flying was called gliding. It is not as easy as it sounds and can only be done under special conditions. In this paragraph, you can easily understand that the gliding is a device which is without engine, and in the past times or in the past period, the people used that device for flying, and they invented and they tried different kind of gliding, but it is not so simple or safe. It is very dangerous thing, and it is unsafe. Now, and it is through the air pressure which move the gliding from one place to another. Before the aeroplanes it was invented. It means it is very old thing. Special condition: if you ride a bicycle fast, even on a perfect day, you will find wind blowing against you. It means when you try a bicycle, move or ride very fastly, what will happen? Then you will feel one pressure of air on your face. That is really still, but because you are moving through it, it feels as if it is blowing against you at the same speed. This is because the air has a stopping effect on bodies passing through it. Now imagine a light framework sloping as in the figure, traveling in the direction moves, the greater will be the opposition force of the air in the direction the force tries to lift. You can prove this by yourself by holding a piece of paper, blowing against it in the direction the paper will fly upwards. To show that this is really due to angle of paper hold it. In this paragraph, in this story, it is telling you about the force of air. First of all, force of air, when you move through the bicycle and holding a paper, what will happen? The paper will fly, and it also you feel the force of opposition that is stopping your bicycle or your body or paper. That effect you can easily feel. Now, if you hold the paper in some angle, just like it, for example, in the picture you can see above, for example here, this is very important, the angles. Just like this skateboard. This skateboard is a position of steeper. Then what will happen? The air is coming from the right hand towards this skating face. What will happen? The paper you hold in this position will fly, and you will feel the stronger force of air opposite it. And this is the concept for flying a glider. So air for several hours and travel as much as 60 years. So in this page, second page, you can check it first of all. Face the air in really still, but because moving through it. Greater the force of opposition in the air in the direction of steeper, and if you are holding the something in a steeper position, you will feel more force of that. And show that this is really due to the angle. So it is very important, the angle which I show you in a steeper position, just like if you hold any paper or anything, so what will happen? You will feel the force of opposition more. So will be blown towards the important part of glider. So through this procedure, the glider flies, which are large surfaces sloping as in steeper. When they were first used, the problem was to make 3D move fast enough to lift itself. And this was done as follows. The man tied himself to his glider and chose a place where he could run downhill against. The wind speed downhill together with the speed of a wind against him produced enough force to lift him. So what happened? First of all, the human beings tried for flying the glider, but how? They move towards the downside of the hill and wearing the device of glider, and the more the force of air, what will happen? In the downward they move, so what will happen? The more force produce the more flying way for the gliding. And if the angle of parts of the wing of the glider could be changed in certain way, it means the glider wings can also be changed. It has an option to change the gliding wings position, and this is in certain way, this is the way to change or get the benefits to fly or through the air current, to rise very high and stay up a long time by steering it. It has also the steering. You can see in the videos also how to glide. This is also the steering here, and also there is this option of moving the glider's wings. So it is even possible to control the direction. It means if you want to change the direction of it by using this gliding, so there is an option also here which you use to change the directions. To give against the event like a sailing ship, just like you have you ever seen the sailing ship? In the different ways of throwing the gliding into the air, just like a sailing ship, you have to use it. Have been found so that the passenger does not have to run with it. He can sit in his machine and rise thousands of feet. It means passenger does not have to run, just they have to sit in the machine and rise to the 1,000 feet in the air of several hours and travel as much as 60 miles. That's a big distance without any machine. Just you are using the device, but you are just using that machine, and that machine without engine fly to 60 miles. Gliding could be carried out only when the wind was just right. The machine was never under wheel control. It was seen that if the glider could be fitted with an engine to pull it along fast enough, it could lift itself in the air. Turn the engine could be used to keep it up and control. The difficulty was the engine was likely to be heavy for the gliding. Like the difficulty it in two ways. Firstly, by planning lighter engine and which could be try the glider forward at high speed. Secondly, by changing the slope and shape of the wing. So that was different difficulties at the starting, that how to make that gliding machine. So what will happen? They have planning of the lighter engine, that it has less weight to fly it easily, and the second thing, the shape and slope of wings that are to be molded or made for flying that gliding machine easily. Lifting by the force at the given speed. In 1903, two brothers Orville and Wilbur Wright were able to fit a glider with a small machine which turned an air screw at the back and drove the machine forward at a fair speed. At first record of the ground by ordinary blading method, and used the engine to keep themselves longer in the air. In the starting, the two brothers invented that thing with the small engine of gliding and screw at the back. It means at the back side there were a air screw, and drove the machine forward at a fair speed. And it was very fair and very good speed at the first record of the ground in the world by ordinary blading methods, and used the engine to keep themselves longer in the air. And it was very famous and starting of that a gliding machine. And they were able to make short flights. At that time, the starting of the gliding machine, so they make it just for the short distance, not for the long distance like it right now 60 miles away. So using this engine to lift them from the ground, but it was not still 1905 that they flew 24.5 miles depending on the engine alone and not on air currents to keep them in the air in 1909. So at that time they can cross the distance of 24.5 miles of the engine, but not in the air currents. It means not depending on the air engine, but just they are using the different method for flying at that period. So Blériot for delayed period flew across the English Channel. So in this lesson, the thing is that what you understand, the main ideas is, in the old times human beings were very interested to fly like birds or birds and things, inventing different ways of flying, in which one was gliding. They were succeed to invent that and using it as a transportation of human beings. In the old times, the human beings were very interested to fly like birds and or things, you can say, and inventing the different ways for flying, in which the first way of flying was gliding, and they were succeeded to invent that and using it as a transportation of human beings. This is the main idea. Now the second topic. Let's start the second topic. It is very interesting topic. It is about the construction of a house. Many people are very interested in the construction of the house, which is very interesting topic, and you know very well. Many people decorate, renovate, or construct the houses. So this is about this construction of house, home sweet home. Watching construction work going on buildings, whether houses offices, factories, roads, or bridges. Interests us because there were so many men doing different things. Some men and machines are digging, some are carrying away earth or putting together the steel frame, some are mixing and pouring concrete, and some are laying bricks. The roof must be covered. First of all, if you want to watch the construction work going on in the buildings, you can see the different houses, offices, factories, roads, bridges, and buildings are going on for the construction, and we have a very great interest to see it, because there were many men doing, and you can also see that there are very different people, the different mans are doing the works, and also the machines are doing the work of different working for the construction. Just like digging machine is another way, or carrying away the earth, or putting together the steel frame. Just like the cranes are there to pull the steel frame and for the heavy weights. And some people, what they do the mixing and pouring concrete, for the sand and cement and other things, the stones they made for the other, and they are pouring, it means filling for the construction of the house. And some are laying bricks, the bricklayer, the bricks are there in the house. In every wall there are bricks, and the people lay these bricks to make the building's walls. So the roof must be covered, it means roof should be constructed. The pipes for gas pipes are there, strain, and these all things to be laid down in the walls or in a roof. The woodwork, very well, for the kitchen and for the cupboards and other things. So the woodwork also there here, and has to be made and fitted. The electricity pipe, very well, for the in the construction, the electricity wires are fitted through the walls and through the roof, and they had to be brought in, and the lights and electric points fixed. These all are about the electricity, that electric points to be fitted, and lights, and there also the points there, boards of the electricity. These things should be done or fixed before the work is finished. And before the work is finished, that things to be done for electricity. And then the next step is for the construction is painting. Painting has to be done. There are men skilled at each kind of work. So it means that every man have a different skills and specialize in their work. Some drive bulldozers. Bulldozers means those machines which are used for destroying the walls or other things. And work cranes, and cranes, for pulling the steel frame or other things. Steel erector, it means cranes for steel erector for pulling the steel frames. Bricklayers for putting the brick in the wall. Plasterers, tilers, plumbers. These plasterers means a person who used to do the plaster. Tiler means a person which is skilled in the fixing the tiles, and plumber means that they lay the or join the electric pipes and other things and lay down the lines of that. And painters, which they do the painting on the walls. So each man has to know about the things he uses, which he calls his material. It means there are different several skillful peoples, and they know how to use the things, and which he calls his material, means the quantity of things. He must know about his tools. It means every skilled person know about the tools, the things which they have to use it, and the proper way to use them, and the right way for using them. He will have a use of long time learning this. Because they have an experience of long time of learning this, they are expert in their field. beginning when he left school. In other words, he will have learned his craft or trade. After they left their school, they learn the things of craft, means the skills for doing the work. Some of men working will not some of men working will not be craftsmen doing special work. It means some people are not special working or the skillful working, but they will have a different craft, but they have a different skill of men, just like they are laborers. They are doing the work of just doing their hard working, but they don't have a hard skill. Skillful people, they have to learn to dig, lift and carry, and to work all day without tiring themselves too much or straining themselves. They are not a skillful people, just they do the working. As well as the people we see every day working on a new building, they are other people. The foreman means a supervisor, and the manager of a building firm who arrange the work. They see that all the materials are there when they are wanted by each craftsman. In this paragraph, they are telling about there are some supervisors or managers which they know that how to make or to perform the work by people in a proper way, and they know how the things to be go on. They are the managers or arrangers of work. They do not do the work by themselves, but they arrange the people for doing that work, and also as well as materials. Before any of the building can begin, plans have to be drawn to show what the building will be like, the exact place in which it is to be. It means before starting of any work, there should be any planning, and planning is about to draw a chart or buildings map, you can see, for what that will be exactly in the after the completion of that building, that what which is to be and what will it will like to be. Assume that your family wanted to have a new house built. You would find a piece of land the right size in certain day that both you and the owner of the land were agreed, and about where it was you would have to find it on a map or plan. Map showing all the land in the country may be bought from shops. First of all, before starting your work, you have to do what? You have to choose the right size of the plot or land and right place for that before you want to start the work. And then you have to buy that land or piece of the land. But why? So how can you do this work? Before starting of construction, first of all, you have to choose the right place and right size of land, and then you have to you want to negotiate or buy that land from the owner of the land, that you want to do the agreement for that, and then you go for signing up. Before doing these things, you have to write on a paper that what. And first of all, the thing is that map. What is map? Every plot or everything has a map which shows you the land in that particular area that you want to buy. So first thing you would like to look at the map on the map would be the scale. Every map has a scale, and this is not a normal scale, this is a different scale. How is that? The scale, just like the inches you shown on the paper, but every inch has a different size like the other scale. For example, this tells you what length a line must be on a map to show a certain distance on the ground. If the map has a large scale, when for instance 35 inch on the map stands for 1 mile. For example, 35 inches on the map, you should have to see on the map that it has a 35 inches. It means it stands for 1 mile on the map. So the size of the inch is different on the map which is 35 inch equals to 1 mile on the map. We call it as plan, and this is called a plan, as most of the maps used for buying land are on this scale. Mostly the buying maps are used for that scale. It means the ratio of that. We will call them plans, and it is called as it plans. To make quite certain that land for the building has been fairly and properly bought and sold to avoid any quarrels afterwards. Quarrels means dispute. Afterwards, all the papers are made out by a man who has specially trained to do this. He is called a solicitor. Solicitor is a legal man, which is a centerman, you can say, that between the two parties. He is a man which deals with the things of buying and selling, and he has a proper skills of doing that agreement between the parties. So before buying the things, everything should be written on a paper with the legal documents that the things are done in a proper way. The next person whose skill you would need to help you build your house would be an architect. After buying a land and agreed on the agreement, then the next step is a person who is skilled you need to help you build your house. It's an architect. Architect is a person who makes drawing to show you the house, what will be it like. There will be a plan for each floor. It means architect will design plan for each floor and show you that what you like. If you like that plan, then you will agree on that. If you could take the roof off and look into house from above, it means if you want to see the plan of the floor, you can see easily from the above that what is the plan of the floor. You can see easily where is the room, where is the kitchen, where is the other things of wardrobe and other sections from the above. These all called elevations, and this is named as elevations on the plan. These plans and elevations have on them everything the builder will want to know. Now, the most important things the builder or the constructor of that building wants to know about the plans and elevations. Then he will do the work. They are often on the scale of 4 feet to 1 inch. Now, it means 4 feet equals to 1 inch on the elevations. Elevation is the second thing which is different from the plan. Plan has a different ratio, and the elevation has a different ratio, which is 4 feet equal to 1 inch. Now the architect has to find out how much of each material the building will need, how many bricks, how many wood, how much steel, and how much cable, the other things for electricity, and how many pipes for water, gas, how many slates or tiles for the roof, and how many other things. He may do this himself, or he may have the help of an expert in this field called a quantity surveyor. It means then he will know by checking your things of plan and elevations that how many things or quantity required for the construction. And there are the several things which you know in the construction that will be required. So if he does not know, so he will get the help of expert in this field, and which is called quantity surveyor. It means quantity surveyor is a person who survey about the quantity of construction of any building and knows how many things or how many quantity of things are required. When these entire lists are ready, a builder will say how much it will cost to build house, and if the price is agreed, everything is put down on paper. On this paper is called a contract, and the builder and the buyer of the house both signed it to show that they agreed on everything. So in this way, what will happen, the both parties, first of all, the builder of that building want to do the things or arrange the forecasting of the things, that how much they cost, and if he does not know the quantity, so he will get the help of quantity surveyor, and quantity surveyor tells him about the quantity which is required for constructing a building. And then what will happen, these things or lists are ready, then what will happen, builder will say that how much for the construction of that building will cost or house, and he will also tell the owner the price of what construction, and if the both the buyer, the owner of the house, and builder, if they are agreed on that, then what will happen, they will put down or write the things on all the things on the paper, and that is called a contract, and the builder will and the buyer of the house both sign on it to show that they have agreed on that everything. So the main idea of the above topic is that message which is hidden in the above topic is that every work in the world is done by those people having skills according to their work, and they are specialized to their work. In ancient times, their concepts was different, and they did all works, as well as there wasn't a concept of specialization. In the modern world, in which our concepts of everything is depend on specialization. For example, an engineer is doing his work according to his profession. A teacher is doing his work of teaching. So right now we are in the modern world, so we have a different work occupations or professions, and they are doing their different tasks or works according to their skills, which is called the specialization in their field. Now the next topic is man sends a message. This is also a very interesting topic, that how a man sends a message in a past times. This is also about the history, and this is about Thomas Edison, which is one of the Thomas Edison great interest was the telegraph, a mean of sending messages over long distances. In this passage, taken from a book called Inventions, some message were not told how it was done. So electric telegraph, you can see here this device, and this is, in the old times, it was invented to send the message of the human beings. And the second chart is international Morse, and there is different symbols you can see, dot and dash, dot, dot, and it is dash dot equals to A, B equals to dash dot, 3 times dot, and this was used for that and for the numeric values also. And this is called International Morse Code. It was used in the past times, and his name is Morse Code. He was an inventor of it, Samuel Morse. Samuel Morse was an inventor. Electricity travels along a wire for long distances at great speed. It can be used to make heat or light and work machines. First of all, electricity is used for the different tasks, you know very well, to run the machines, to glow the lights, or to make the heat. It is of great importance in modern message sending. Electric telegraph, which was invented in 1835, just after the first railway, made it possible for us to send a message quickly over a long distance without a messenger. Message was taken with the aid of or help of electricity along a copper wire. By one method, the electricity was allowed to flow for a shorter or a longer time and then stopped. In the past time, you should have to understand first of all the communication way was not as like right now in a modern world. They were about just sending the message through the post office or manually by the peoples, not by the electric devices. So right now it is of very important that you have to study the history of this. So it was invented in 1835 through a device called telegraph, electric telegraph, for sending a message. And first railway was made to possible to send a message for a long distance without a messenger. It means without a person. Message was taken with the aid of electricity. It means the message was sent through the electricity along a copper wire by the one method of electricity for a short or long distance. The flow of electric current was broken up into short and long signals called as dots and dashes, which I have already explained you about. That the A stand for example, in the above picture you can see are dot and dash. So the electric signal sent to it and machine moves, and what happened? Machine prints are dot and dash for a short and long signals known as dot and dashes, and write on the paper, and dots and dashes may be written like on the paper like this. You can also see in the picture. The signals were sent by means of what is called a key. One is shown in the picture. When the key was pressed down, so the point marked A and B in the picture, each touch electricity passed from one to the other and then along the wire. When the key was at rest, A and B do not touch. It means when the electricity passed through the device, what will happen? A and B, there are two different parts of machine. A put the dash and B put the, for example, dots. So what will happen? At the one time, the A or B put one thing. So what will happen? It will print on the paper, and if the current is not passing, so the machine still in a still position. It is not moving and not touching the paper, and electricity is not passing through it. At the other end of the wire, electric signals had to be turned into signals that could be seen or heard. So each short or long signal was recorded by moving of a needle backward and forwards by watching them or listening to the tapping sound. It means when the current passes, so the electric rods touch on the paper, and you will hear the tapping sound of that device, and you can also see that it is writing on the paper. Dots and dashes being sent to him, and through the electric current, what will happen? That machine receive the codes, and that will print on the dots and dashes to the other person. How dots and dashes could mean anything. Each letter of alphabets was represented by a different arrangements of dots and dashes, which is shown in the picture also, with space between each group. The alphabets of dots and dashes is known as a Morse Code and is written like it. You can see here A for dot dash, B for dash triple dot, C for dash dot dash dot, and etc. So by other method, the man who worked the telegraph had a machine in front of him which looked like a large typewriter, and I have already shown you in the picture that machine is just like a typewriter. On each key was marked letter or figure. When every one key was pressed, signal for that letter or figure was sent along the wire. It means as the current passed and required things, that they will have to print like dot or dashes was sent and sent along this message sent along the wire to the machine, and the other hand of the wire, other machine received the signals and printed a letter or figure on a strip of paper. By this method, messages could be sent and received much more easily and more quickly than the Morse code. Ordinary people could have all kinds of messages sent for them by electric telegraph. Let us suppose that we wish to send a message come at once. At the post office, we would be given a piece of paper on which we would write these words together with our own hand and write address of the person to whom message had to be sent. Then the telegraph worker would change our letters words into electric signals which he would send along the telegraph wire to the post office nearest to the address which he wrote. Then there it would be received and written down on paper once. More than it would be sent by the hand or to the person whom we wanted to come at once. The first telegraph cable was laid under the sea between England and France in 1850 cables. So this paragraph tells you about that. First of all, a person went to the post office and tells him about the message, but he not only tells, just write the message on the paper and also the address. And then what happened? The post office sent these signals through the electric telegraph and also the address of that, and the other post office sent that message to the address which is required. So what happened then? Then the cable was laid. It was done through the electric cable, and the cable was laid under the sea between England and France. It means it was built for the long distance, for sending the messages and between the two countries in 1850. The cable which were more thicker and heavier than telegraph wires. In 1850, the modification of things was that they did with the thicker and heavier wires through telegraph wires. There were a number of reasons for that. One reason was that the salt water of sea harmed ordinary telegraph wires. The salt water spoiled the wire in the sea for the communication, so they had to be protected. And other was that because electricity passing easily through water wires had to be covered to prevent electric signals which were passing through them, so escaping and getting lost in the sea. Third was the cable had to be strong and they would be break while they were being laid down along the bottom of the sea from a ship sailing on the surface. It means there are several reasons that they have to build like the cable to save from these reasons. The first cable that men tried to lay between England and America broke, were lost during a storm. At last, after 9 years of hard working, the two great nations Britain and America were joined in 1866. What happened? That two different countries joined that wire of communication by the electric telegraph. Later all the different countries of world were joined by the network of cables, and after that the many countries joined that communication by the cables. It was as easy to send a message by cable as it was to send message by cables as it was sent to an ordinary telegraph, and it took no longer for a message to travel halfway round the world from one town to the next every hour of the day. It means then the modification was that the line of cables were spread all over the different countries, and it was become very easy to send the message in every hour throughout the world, around the world. And night messages were flashed underneath and from every country in the world. So after that, every country started doing the messaging and through the telegraph. Main idea of this lesson is that the above topic is that everything is possible in the world, like the inventions of electric telegraph. Before that, no one think about talking or sending their messages for long distances and communicate with others, but by using brain it becomes possible, and now we can communicate all over the world in few seconds with others. This is the central idea of this above topic. Now the next topic is Wizard of Menlo Park. Wizard of Menlo Park This is about the Edison, which is a famous inventor in the world. The topic starts from here. This topic is about famous Thomas Edison, whose invention included the gramophone and the electric lamp. As you know, "I am sorry," said the teacher, "your boy seems to be backward. It is simple, does not want to learn." "What nonsense!" exclaimed Mrs. Nancy Edison, which was the mother of Thomas Edison. "Tom is a very clever boy. I shall teach him myself." This conversation took place one day in 1854 at Port Huron, Michigan, in the United States of America. It brought to an end the short school career of Thomas Alva Edison. He was 7 years old and he had been going to school for just 2 months. Mrs. Edison soon taught Thomas to read and write. After that, she let him learn what he liked. Before he was 10 years old, Tom was reading books which students study at universities. His favorite subject was science. So in this paragraph, Thomas Edison which was known for that by the teacher that he was not a good student, but her mother exclaimed about it that no, he is a very intelligent, clever boy, and she taught him by herself at home. And at the age of 7 years, he just went for the 2 months in the school in his life, and after that he studied in the home. And at the age of 10 years, Tom was reading the books at the level of the university's books, and the favorite subject was science. He turned the cellar of his room into a laboratory, and there he carried out all kinds of experiments. Interesting experiments. The telegraph had just been invented, and by Samuel Morse. Tom was very interested in that than anything else. The teacher was wrong. While still a young man, Thomas Edison earned more than $140,000 with his inventions. Then what happened? He was studying the university's book, and his favorite subject was science, and he turned his cellar, means the room below the house or under the ground, and he changed this cellar or room into a laboratory. There he did the different things for inventing. The telegraph at that time was just invented by Samuel Morse. Tom was interested in that than anything else. That it means he was very interested in that telegraph. The teacher was wrong because the thing was not like this. He was very intelligent and he earned $140,000 with his inventions. Many more followed him. He had filled 2,500 books with notes, and each containing 300 pages. It means 2,500 into 300 pages. So you can do also. It's become in the millions of the pages which he had written. In 1876, Edison had a laboratory built at Menlo Park, 25 miles from New York. His first job at Menlo Park was to improve the telephone for Western Union, the great telegraph company. The telephone had just been invented by Alexander Graham Bell. It was a clumsy instrument. Clumsy means not in a proper way, not in a proper shape instrument, and could only be used over short distances. Edison worked on the telephone for 2 years. At the end of that time, Western Union made tests over a line of 140 miles long. This test was successful, and Western Union promptly paid Edison $1 lakh. In the meantime, Edison had started work on another machine. First of all, Western Union paid the money for what? For improving the telegraph, for improving the telephone for the Western Union, and he got $1 lakh for that, and he made the successful lines of 140 miles long distance for the communication, and that was successful and he was paid $1 lakh by Western Union. And in the meantime, at that time, during this time, also Edison started work on the another invention. It was a phonograph. Phonograph, which was later called the gramophone. One day he called one of his workmen and handed him a sketch. Make me that machine. It means one day Edison made a sketch on the paper and hand over to the person or employee of him that make me that machine. He want that machine which he made on the sketch. He said to the man, stared at the sketch and the notes beside it. It means the man which saw it and stared him for that he is staring with the anger or the surprising that what is this? And he said, what is it for, boss? He asked. It does not seem to make sense. It means it does not make to be natural or make to be possible for making that sketch to be a machine. And Edison smiled you. And Edison smiled you. And Edison smiled you. We'll see when you bring it back. He said. Everyone in the workshop stared at the machine in wonder. So what happened then? And Edison smiled, and Edison smiled. You will see. Edison smiled. Why? Because he wanted to show that sketch to a machine, and you will see. And he said, you will see that machine when you will bring it. He said. Everyone in the workshop stared at the machine in wonder. They saw cylinder with a handle, and on the sketch there was a cylinder on the cylinder with a handle attached to it and diaphragm to which a needle was fixed. When Edison came into the test machine, some of the men stared hard at him. They were wondering whether the strain of working had affected. They saw him wrap a sheet of tin foil round the cylinder. Then he placed the needle on the tin foil, turned the handle and spoke into it. Diaphragm. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. Then what happened? He made that machine which was on a sketch and which has a cylinder and needle tin foil round the cylinder, and tin foil paper is round the cylinder which was wrapped there, and he placed the needle on the tin foil paper, turned the handle, moved the handle and spoke into a diaphragm. Then what will happen? The words which are written in green, it was said by the Edison. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. And these words, Edison finished that verse or sentence. Then he set the needle back at the starting point. And he set that needle back at the starting point and turned the handle again. From the turning cylinder, his voice came back. And what happened? The surprising thing is that same voice repeat after turning that handle. And Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. It was a stranger thing or surprising thing at that time. Any of those men had never heard about it. Edison was 31st years when he invented gramophone. The invention made him famous all over the world. All over the world, people began to call him the Wizard of Menlo Park. Years before Edison had decided upon a pattern for his life, it was to work 24 hours out of each 24 hours. Sometimes he would work for 3 or 4 hours without going to bed. From time to time, he would rest for 15. It means he was doing very hard working and inventing the different things, and that's why his name became the Wizard of Menlo Park. Wizard means the magical power of Menlo Park. And he just rest for a few minutes and start doing their work again. And when he started work afterwards, he would seem completely fresh. After a few minutes of rest, he become fresh completely. And then in 1878, Edison set out to invent an electric lamp. The second invention is about the electric lamp, which is very famous in the world, about the Thomas Edison. First of all, he produced light by passing electric current. First of all, the first experiment of him was that to pass the electric current through that metal inside a globe of glass. Inside that globe of glass, and then what happened is he soon found out that the light was better if there was no air in the glass globe. It means it's become vacuum. He suck out all the air from that globe and then sealed it up, and then he again did this work of passing the electricity through the wires. Then the bulb glow brightly. But Edison was not satisfied because it's a very expensive metal, and then he began to search for something else. Eventually he used a cotton thread covered with a carbon to everyone's amazement work. Then the second thing is that he used a cotton thread, but cotton thread when he used for that, so electric current passed through it, so it burned it, and it is not for the long lasting. So what happened then? He was not satisfied again, so he want to do another invention or improvement for that. So he knew that his search was not over. Cotton thread was not strong enough to last for long in the lamp. Then one day he noticed thin strips of bamboo bound to the edges of a lady's fan. So that gave an idea. He had strips of bamboo covered with carbon and tried them out. Edison went on to make 6,000 tests before he was satisfied with the strips of bamboo. It means he did a lot of work on invention of the electric lamp with the bamboo strip, and from a plant grown especially for him in Japan. And he was succeed, and the Japan give the space for, he made the plant for growing that bulbs or other things. For 10 years bamboo was used for the filament in the electric lamp. Today we use a wire called tungsten, and its name is tungsten. Lesson or main idea of this. The central idea of this topic is that the success of life lies on hard working. Never give up, always try and keep on trying for obtaining success in the life. So these all topics are covered, and I hope that you will understand.